Alright guys, so I'm gonna get ready to start pulling the engine out. So today, I already jacked the car up, put jack stands underneath, and so just show you a little bit around here. With the jack stands, I started draining the coolant. So I opened the drain little valve here on the radiator on the bottom. Don't seem like I got a lot of the coolant out, but usually you can drain the coolant on the radiator from there, but you still have a lot of coolant left in the engine. Once I get the lower radiator hose off, then we'll drain some more out of there. I did put jack stands all the way around on the back too, because we do have to get underneath there to get the cross member loose for the transmission. And so I know I mentioned I was gonna try to do it all or the transmission separate from the engine, but I think I'm just gonna do it all together from the top, or we're gonna attempt to do it that way. If it doesn't really work, then we can always split them and do it separately. But so today what I'm gonna do is now if you're doing this on your car, I mean pretty much basically you're gonna do the same thing. I am gonna take the hood off just because there's just not room to pull it with the hood in there. I am gonna pull my bumper off as well, just because I don't want to hit it with my engine hoist and scratch it, since I just did the paint on here. So we'll be pulling that, and then I'm gonna start just kind of pulling some of the basic things on top here, like the reservoir, intake, some of the smaller things on here. So follow along really quick, and then we'll go from there. Alright, got the bumper and the hood off. So hood is not too bad, 4 nuts, and you just pull it off. I don't have any help right now, so I just loosened it, kind of closed it, and then just pulled it up. So be very careful so you don't kind of put it on top of a fender and scratch it. Bumper is pretty simple. You have the 2 bolts on top. Normally these are just clips, like plastic clips like this. I have couple of nuts just because this one was already broken here. 2, with the nuts, I can make sure it's a little bit tighter than just a little push clip. You have the 2 bolts here, or nuts on the inside, that you take off, and then just the Phillips head screwdriver right here on the fender splash shield here. Cool, so got this off. Gonna put all my bolts somewhere where I remember where they are, so I don't lose them. So that's where that radiator drain is. Probably hard to see in there. Let me get a flashlight there, but you can see it in there. I just put a piece of hose so it would drain on there. Like I said, I took off the bumper just that way I don't get a scratch. And then another reason is I have a new intercooler to put in here, so it'll be a lot easier to do it without the bumper in here. It looks like it's just one bracket, but I have to loosen all the hoses here. When I take the intake off, hoses come off the supercharger. One of them actually goes here to this reservoir, and then I believe the other side, it actually goes to the intercooler all the way at the bottom. So I'll have to drain that as well here soon. But anyways, I'm gonna start taking probably the reservoir off, you know, the intake, you know, just some of the smaller things on top. Alternator, since the intake's gonna come off, all that stuff here that I can get to. I did get the AC system evacuated. I'm just gonna loosen the lines and take off the compressor with the engine. Normally what I did on the truck that I was working on, I just unbolted the compressor from the engine and you just let it hang there to the side. That way you don't have to mess with refilling the AC system. On this vehicle, I ordered a new hose, which is, geez, I think it's this one here. So this hose here goes all the way from the condenser, I think all the way back to the accumulator, because it has the built-in orifice tube. Pretty sure, from what I can remember, the AC, and it might have already been changed out, but I know the AC compressor was switched out on this vehicle, and I just noticed it's a little bit on the tough side when you turn it on. So I don't know if when that was done, I don't know if we changed that line with the orifice tube, or if we didn't, it might have a little bit of junk in there, a little bit plugged. So it wasn't really expensive from Rock Auto. I think it was $20. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do it while, you know, I have this all torn apart. So let's keep it going. All right, so another day here. I use this old comforter to cover the fenders, just because you know, sometimes like your jacket or, you know, your pants, you got metal, and so you can scratch a little bit, especially leaning over, disconnecting things. So I got the battery out, alternator, you know, hoses, radiator, all that stuff out of here. I did disconnect the AC line that goes right here out front, because I figure it's a hard line that goes like right here. And so to pull the engine out, that was going to be on the way. And I was going to leave the AC compressor right here on the bottom of the engine, but I figured when I try to pull it up, it's gonna hit this ABS pump. So I took it off. There's 3 bolts since the lines were off already. And then this is the other line here that goes to the compressor, but just that way that's out of the way, and I can, you know, start angling the engine out without worrying of hitting this. So we'll see how much room I have. I also started taking the harness off, so I unplugged everything. I just need to unbolt it from here really for the alternator. I did unbolt the other side here. So this harness goes across, it's all the injectors and coils, and then it goes down to the AC compressor and to the crankshaft position sensor as well. So I pretty much pulled it from down here. I do have to undo the heater hose to get it out. as well as I did unplug it here from one connector, but I do need to do this other one, which has the 8 millimeter bolt here to unplug it. And then I should be able to pull the harness out. While this harness is out, I am gonna do a little bit of repair on it, just because all the old, loom, most of it, like this is probably new here, but some of the old loom here on the back, especially like this big one here, is really stiff. And then back there you can see it's kind of a little bit, it's just old. So I'm gonna, try to clean it up and redo it. I ordered some of the harness tape, that way it stays on, and then I'll just, recover all these a little bit better. I know there's a couple of these wires that are a little bit of peeled here at the end. I think it's on the other side, so I'm just gonna fix those while I have it out and do all that. So I did pull the clutch out that I had for years, actually for the other Mustang, but it's gonna go on this one now. So it's a spec stage 2 clutch that I bought a long time ago. And we also got a box from Late Model here, which should be the flywheel as well. So today I'll probably just get this harness out and then probably start unbolting the intake supercharger off and see if I can pull that off as one assembly. It might be a little heavy, so I might need help pulling it off. We'll see. And also I should get the coils out before the intake, just because they bolt on here, but I don't want to have to be trying to pull them out together with the intake. So I'll do that, disconnect the EGR valve on the back there, which is a little bit, there's not too much room, but I should be able to do it. And we'll keep chugging. All right, went ahead and got everything pretty much disconnected from the supercharger. So it's pretty heavy for me to get it out of there since I'm doing it all one piece. The reason I didn't want to take the top piece off is because I did I had this rebuild not long ago, and I did the new gaskets on the base. It's kind of hard to get those gaskets now. I mean, you can order them from Saleen, but I think they're pretty expensive for just square gasket. So since it's pretty new, I'm just gonna take it off one piece, and then obviously I have to do the intake gaskets anyway. So to put it back in there, I'm just gonna need someone to help me. But as long as you don't drop it in the gasket, you're okay. And I did this gaskets before I bought the car when my friend owned it, so they probably have maybe 10,000 miles on them, maybe a little bit more, but actually not too many miles. A couple of things I didn't realize: the harness, it has the piece that goes on the bottom to the transmission and oxygen sensors. So I can't pull it out pretty much. There is a connector down there, but behind there, but I'll just wait till at least the intake is off, and then if I can get to it easy, I'll unplug it then. I'll kind of do the same thing when I'm putting it back. I'll make sure this looks nice, and then plug it in before I get the intake in there, if that's how it has to go. But I did realize when I was taking a vacuum hose off right here, this one, so this nipple is supposed to be attached to the supercharger. It was in there because there's a hole, but when I pulled it off, it just pulled it out. So I'll have to glue that in there. I'll probably use like a high temperature epoxy. Before, when my friend owned the car, this elbow had a few cracks in it, just like it's in two pieces. So they cast it in two pieces and glued it together, and it seemed like it was cracked right in the cast. So when we did the gaskets at that time, I actually like epoxied pretty much the whole thing all around on the outside. That's why it looks a little bit kind of weird. Little, because I put glue everywhere that was kind of cracked. And I painted it blue. Actually, when I did the supercharger, I painted it blue, but I don't really like it because that's the only thing blue. So I'm just gonna paint it black to match the nice finish of the supercharger this time. I'm not gonna unbolt this, so I'll just mask everything and then paint it while it's in there. I was thinking of painting the valve covers blue to match the car, but I think I'm probably just gonna clean them up nice. And I don't really have a lot of, because I was gonna paint the timing cover blue, valve covers, but I mean, at the end of the day, you put so much stuff on these engines that you don't even see them that much, and I think black just kind of all blends in, just kind of a clean, uniform look, rather than seeing a little bit of blue here and there. So that's what I was gonna do, but I think black is gonna be just cleaning it up. So anyways, I'll just wait for Junior to give me a hand with this. I'm probably gonna paint this too. I don't like the chrome. That's the only thing chrome really, so I'll probably just end up spraying it black while I have it out. And then I'll probably clean up the engine bay, or I will clean up the engine bay. There's a lot of oil on the bottom. I think this valve cover was leaking because there's oil. I mean, now that I have a lot of things off, I know the timing seal was leaking because there's a bunch of caked oil behind the harmonic balancer. But there's a bunch of oil on the side of the engine. It had been leaving me, like not like a big puddle, but quite a few drops every day or anytime I drove it and parked it. So I'm pretty sure valve covers were leaking a little bit. I mean, 180,000 miles, you can see some of the oil here on top. So other than that, yeah, once he comes home from work, I get off earlier than him. So I'll have him help me pull that off. From here, I'm pretty much just gonna loosen the bolts here on the bottom to get that harness off of the engine. the motor mounts, and then I'll have to go inside the car, get the shifter off underneath, take the cross member off and everything, and do that. There's a few things I need to get, like a harness for this. Is the coolant or the air charge temperature sensor, which they relocated to the supercharger there. So you can see this connector is pretty much broken there. The wires are showing. It was working. I replaced that sensor a while back because it was reading really hot temperature, so the car was going rich. But I think since I'm having everything off, I'm gonna replace that pigtail, and then, like I said, the rest of the harness just needs to be fixed up a little bit. So, all right, guys, so you can see I got the supercharger off here yesterday with the help of Junior. It's not too heavy. It's just a little too heavy for one person, especially since you're kind of reaching over the fender. So this is pretty much gonna stay here as it is. Probably just clean up the lower intake a little bit here. I mean, it's pretty clean. It hasn't been long since I got it rebuilt and all that. So I gotta fix this inlet here. So I'm gonna stick that tube back in, and then the epoxy around there. That's really the main thing here. Other than that, just a little bit of cleanup around the lower intake. So with the engine here, I do see those connectors there on the back for the harness. I can unplug those and pull it out here, so that's no big deal. I am gonna go underneath the car here today and actually inside the car get the shifter out, and then start taking the drive shaft and all that out of there. So that's next. I did get that box over there. That's the AC line here. So this is the AC line. Wait, I think it's that one. Yeah, this is the one that has the right where this little pinch is. This is where the what do you call it? Orifice tube is in here. So like I said, I'm not sure if I replaced this already, but it's really inexpensive, so I just got a new one just in case this thing has some junk inside of there. But other than that, everything is pretty much looking close. You know, got to loosen the motor mounts and everything, so I'm getting close to getting it pulled out of here. So yep. The only other thing also is this tube here for the heater. You know, I'm gonna have to, well, figure out. Hopefully it has a bolt back there that holds it on. So hopefully with that bolt off, I can kind of move it side to side and take it out of here, because my new engine just has the little spout here coming out of the back of the water pump. So I did change those hoses for the heater on the back when I first got the car, so I'll reuse those. You can see that pinch clamp there, it fell in there and I couldn't get it out because there's not much room, but since that won't be there this time, it'll be easy to get it out. So anyways, that is what's gonna be going on next. So I'm gonna get started, get the shifter out inside. When you take the drive shaft out, usually you get a little bit of oil leaked out of there, but since I'm gonna pull the engine and tranny and I'm gonna tilt the engine, you know, I'm gonna end up dropping the oil. So I'm just gonna pull the drain plug off of the transmission. That way I get the oil out of there. That way when I tilt it, I don't have a bunch of oil on the floor, and I'll put new oil on it anyway. So yeah, other than that, these gaskets, like I said, they're not that old, so they don't even look that bad. You know, it wasn't leaking or anything like that. I mean, the block has a good surface on there. This one here, as you can see, like a little bit like it kind of broke, but I don't know if it's because when I loosen all the bolts, I pulled the supercharger forward a little bit, so I don't know if it just kind of caught it and you know, just kind of dragged it a little bit. Even if it wasn't, it doesn't look like it was leaking anything out of there, but just something to note when I put the supercharger in there. Just be careful to, you know, not drop it on the gaskets or anything. And then yeah, that's pretty much it for right now, so stay tuned. All right, went ahead and got the shifter out. So this is the shifter boot. You know, you just have the 4 clips. Just be careful to pull them out. Sometimes these break, so or they come off, the little metal piece comes off, so just put it back in the plastic. I have my alarm little light bulb here. That's why when I redid the interior not long ago, I put a longer wire, so you know I can just set it here. But normally you just disconnect your cigarette lighter here and you're good to go. 4 bolts for the cover, which is down here. It's hard to see, but 4 bolts for the shifter, and it comes back out. I put a piece of rag there just so that way nothing falls inside the transmission while I'm trying to take it out and everything like that. And then this is the shifter. Pretty sure it's just like a factory shifter. I think Saleen put this little small, you know, kind of like a short throw adapter on there at some point. It looks, I don't know if it's supposed to be a little bit crooked there, or it's just, you know, over time it's gone a little bent. But you know, maybe we can get someone to send us a nice shifter, try it out. We'll see. If not, I'll have to buy one later on. Anyways, going to go underneath the car here and get the drive shaft off, and then get the drain plug off for the transmission. So I probably won't really show too much on here, but 12-point socket for your, I believe it's a 12mm for your drive shaft bolts. I'm gonna get my impact and just, you know, obviously you don't want to have it crooked or anything. Make sure it's tight, but that's the easiest way to get them out. If you don't have an impact, you know, just use like a pry bar, but you might want to have maybe your handbrake on so that way the back doesn't turn, or have someone push the brakes, do 1 bolt, you know, turn it a little bit so you get the best angle and do it that way. But if you have an impact, that's the best way to do it. So we see what happens. Actually, I'm gonna try my DeWalt drill impact, see if that works. If not, then I'll get my air impact, so we'll see. Alright guys, so I got the underneath the dry shaft taken out. I had to use my air impact. My electric wasn't strong enough, so I used my air impact. I did loosen all the cross member bolts for the transmission. I drained the oil, took the X pipe off and all that underneath. So that's pretty much basic, you know, the bolts and everything. One thing I was going to mention to you guys, if you guys were wondering, this has a SVE X pipe. Forgot where I put it. So it works really well for the price out there. You know, it's very affordable. It looks really nice, good quality. One thing that I did run into with it, and I don't know if I bought this about a year ago, so I don't know if they changed this at all, but just keep it in mind. This flange here, so let me... So this flange here, when, you know, the car obviously has the factory exhaust manifold, so it mounts on the driver's side here. You know, it's got a ball flange on the exhaust manifold side on the header. So on my factory one, it's way smaller than the aftermarket header here, just so you guys know. And so this one, actually I had to cut about a 1/4 inch off the tip. So it was, you know, a lot. It was bigger than this, because it was bigger. You know, it was about a 1/4 inch longer, maybe 3/8 of an inch. So when I bolted onto my factory exhaust manifold, it was bottoming out on the flange. Like if it was bottoming out over here, kind of. And so it wasn't sealing against the flange. So I had to cut it, like I said, about 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch all the way around, so that way it would actually hit the flange. I don't know if I needed to cut it a little bit more even than that. I just didn't want to cut it more because, as you can see, you know, I'm getting close to this thing just going all the way through it. So with that said, keep that in mind. I don't know if they changed that or not, but if it's the factory, it's gonna probably bottom out on the flange over here, and it's gonna leak. I mean, it's gonna have a really bad exhaust leak. I was wondering if it was gonna work on my aftermarket, on my headers here, but, you know, the flange is way bigger, but since I cut it, I wasn't sure if it was gonna seal anymore, you know, or be too small. But it looks like I still have about 1/4 of an inch all the way around that it's gonna make contact. You know, obviously this is gonna move depending where it's gonna land, so as long as it doesn't have to move too much like this, you know, as long as it's kind of even, then it's gonna work. If not, I'm gonna have to just get a whole new X pipe, but hopefully it just, you know, it's straight and, you know, it seals good. So keep that in mind if you are looking for one out there. That's what happened with this one. So other than that, everything is pretty good. I did have to weld a new piece here for the O2 sensor. That's because the one that was in here, it had like a piece of weld inside, and I didn't notice that, so I installed it and I tried to thread in my oxygen sensor, and after the first couple threads, it just destroyed the sensor. At that point, I needed my car to go to work, so I had to improvise. So I pretty much just welded my sensor to it, and so I couldn't get another one, or, you know, a replacement, because I welded it. But you know, it was damaged, so I had to get my car going. So I just welded it. You know, once I got a new oxygen sensor, which I had to buy another one, I cut it off, welded that new bung, and, you know, it's good now. But keep that in mind on the flange size. I don't know if they changed that or anything, but with the factory exhaust manifold, it's more than likely going to be too big and you'll have a exhaust leak. So anywho, everything underneath is pretty much done except for 2 bolts on the cross member on the transmission. I was gonna see if these wires will come out. So I know I have the oxygen sensor one. I think it's attached to the bell housing here. And then the other one, I loosened it up on the bottom everywhere, so, you know, it should kind of come off, but I'm not sure, you know, if there's anything on the way for right now. So as of right now, though, I do need to figure out where I'm gonna bolt on my engine hoist to get this engine out of here. So more than likely I'm gonna use these bolts up here. I think that's for the alternator bolts. It's right to the block. On the back, you know, there's not like a lot of room, so I might have to go here on this corner piece of the head. I know there's like that metal piece back there, but it's, you know, it's just not that good, or, you know, I can't use it that well. I probably don't want to go here on the intake, so I'll probably just try to do here on the corner. And oh, I was gonna say there's no hole, but yeah, there is. So yep, so I'll go ahead and do that. It's kind of getting late today, so I'll probably maybe try to bolt that on, and then tomorrow I'll get ready to pull it out. I just gotta pull these two bolts here, or nuts, so I can get this wire harness taken off here at the front. That's the harness that goes to the starter, so worst case scenario, I can just kind of take it off here where the battery tray goes. You know, I can disconnect this wire, already disconnected this one, and I can just bring it out with the engine. I might just end up doing that, might be easier than, actually, yeah, since I already have this bolt off here, I'll probably just bring it out with the engine. That way I can put the starter on your engine and then put it in all at once, hopefully. So let's see how that works out. Alrighty, so went ahead and got the hoist leveler in here. I just unclipped the oxygen sensor harness that it gets clipped kind of on this side of the engine there, and so I pulled actually the whole harness out, transmission harness and everything came out. I did see a couple of wires here because there's like a metal piece here that were rubbing. They have like a cut. They're not all the way cut, but I'm gonna repair that, obviously, since it's out, so kind of a good thing, I guess. I took that little piece off the back that holds that sensor for the EGR. That's where I mounted that leveler and mounted it on this side, and then just those water pump bolts. So Everything is out except for those 2 bolts on the transmission cross member. So once I put the hoist on here and kind of start lifting, then I'll go underneath and take those off. And hopefully, you know, cross my fingers, everything goes good. I am gonna need to go up. I think I only have like 2 inches to come forward before like the oil pan starts hitting the K member. So, you know, a couple inches forward, then up, and then hopefully I can come, you know, this way, kind of start tilting the engine, pulling it out. So we'll see. Hopefully all goes good with that. I may have to remove that clutch cable, but I think it would just kind of move out of the way since I have to pull the engine forward. So we'll see what happens. I just kind of figure this is how I'll have to put the other engine in. So that heater hose, I'll, you know, make sure it's in there before everything else. And then I know the harness originally, because it has kind of like 2 pieces. One goes on the top, then one went on the bottom. So when I'm gonna repair it, I'm gonna try to keep them both up here in this spot so they're not all tucked in here. And then, you know, the ones that come down, I mean, they'll just come down right here, maybe in between the holes, or right here, and then run along here. So I just didn't really like it back here. You know, there's not much room. I was gonna go to the U-Pool yard and see if I get another harness that has lower models. There's only one car out there that's a GT, that's a 2002, I think, actually, but I believe they're close, so I don't think that's gonna happen. I didn't want to order one off eBay because more than likely it's gonna be the same as mine, so might as well just repair that. So let's see how this goes. All right, folks, got the engine out here, so not too big of a deal. Be ready to make a little bit of a mess. So like I said before, there's always coolant on the engine, so a little bit got spilled there on the floor. I gotta clean that up. So you can see the underneath here is kind of soaked with oil, so you know, I'm gonna put the greaser and pressure wash that rack and K-member there, especially around like the rack and pinion, all the hoses there. And that's just oil from the engine. You know, nothing else was leaking at this point. I had to fix everything else. So other than that, here is the engine. So, you know, pretty dirty. I mean, I anticipated that. So you can see here on the side, maybe not, get a flashlight. So you can see the whole side of the block here is kind kind of soaked with oil, but you can see it's coming from the valve cover here on top, so all that is wet. So, you know, especially right here on the back, I mean, there's some of the coolant, but, you know, the valve cover was leaking oil all the way across. You know, I kind of figured that since the whole side of the block was full. I left the starter in here just because, you know, it's easier. If in the future I do like a K-member, makes it a lot easier to change the starter. Other than that, I mean, you kind of just have to wrestle around underneath, but it can be done. Motor mounts, I'm probably just going to put new ones. This one is kind of okay. The other one, let's see if we can look on the other side here. Bear with me. The other one here is, you know, you can, I don't know if you can see. Sorry, try to grab the flashlight, but it's pretty loose. So if that one's loose, then I'll probably end up just doing both of them. Transmission's okay. I mean, it is a little bit dirty. It's got some residue here. I think before, a while back, I had helped my friend do the, we changed the sensor here. The backup sensor was leaking, and I believe we also put a silicone here on the shifter because that was leaking. So you can see a little bit of residue there, but nothing so bad. You know, I'm gonna clean it up really nice, put a new output shaft seal on there. This valve cover also wasn't leaking as bad, but you can see a little bit of oil seeping out. Maybe the oil panel's leaking on this side, because you can see quite a bit of residue there. So overall, not, you know, not terribly bad, but that's where all the oil was coming from. So we'll see. Gonna get this kind of, probably take the transmission off of it here real quick, and then oh, well, that comes apart when you rub it. I'm gonna get the transmission out of it, and then pretty much, you know, start taking some of the parts off and start cleaning and move them over to the other one. I do have another engine hoist that I bought when I did that other engine not long ago, so I'm going to go ahead and probably use that to put this engine in, and then just kind of have them both side to side. I'm gonna take my truck out of here so I have more room to work on it here, but you know, and then just start cleaning everything that's gonna go in this engine. Those valve covers look really dirty, so I'll have to, you know, clean them up pretty good, but I don't think I'm gonna end up painting them. I did want to paint a little bit here under the engine bay, just because the paint's kind of old. So I'm gonna see if I can get some of this stuff kind of out of the way, and just maybe do a little bit of a kind of spray in here. This isn't like 100% a show car. It is already blue and everything, but we'll see. You know, I drive this car a lot, so, you know, if I spend a lot of time making everything all nice and shiny, it's probably not gonna be like that like a long time, but I might want to get some of these things here on this side and spray the shock towers on both sides. You know, maybe the back side over there. We'll see what I can get to. You know, mostly it's taping, a lot of taping, but that's no big deal, so we'll check that. I did put this piece of cardboard here. You know, I would recommend if you leave the condenser in there, just, you know, anything smacks it, they kind of get bent real quick, so put a piece of cardboard so that way you don't damage anything in there. Other than that, you know, I'm gonna spray a bunch of oil eater in here and well, get this engine, you know, ready to drop back in here.